Hello, my name is Paul Wilcox, and today I will be showing you a library called fluent-data. This is a library to help you work with tabular structures in JavaScript, structures such as data sets or matrices. I'll talk about the wiki, how to install it, and then I'll actually go through a demo for you just to see how to install it. I won't actually work with the library at this point. That'll be a future video, but I will talk about the kinds of data it works with. For the documentation, head on over to GitHub. My account is Paul Wilcox, all one word, and the library is fluent-data. You go to the library, of course, you'll land on the README page. It'll give you a summary, it'll talk about how to install it, and it'll give you quick examples to get you up and running very fast. If you want more detail, though, go to the wiki. It will be a repeat of the README page at first for the home, but in addition, it'll give you further pages that go more into detail. You can also click on the links within either the home or the README, and they'll lead you to the appropriate pages. We're going to go into the dataset and matrix pages just to see the kinds of data this library works with. For a dataset, you can see 3 instantiations here in the article. What's being passed in are arrays where the elements are objects, and the properties of those objects are fairly consistent, and the values are all primitive. It does not have to be an array. It can be any iterable, and it does not have to be consistent properties, and the values can be complex. They don't have to be primitive. But this kind of object might be the best for you to get started as you're first learning. If you go to a matrix, here you'll see just the array. It gets instantiated below here. But just to see what kind of object it works with, you'll see it's very similar to a datasets object. But with properties such as x and y, you can imagine this represents a coordinate system. The marker property here, this becomes later row names. This doesn't become part of the core matrix, so you can sort of disregard it. And you can see that the properties here are consistent, and they're also not only primitive, but they're integers. More generally, they're numbers. Of course, with a matrix, that's the kind of object you're going to need. To drive home the point even further, you could actually instantiate a matrix with subarrays. So you can pass in the array 0, 0, the array 10, 0, and 1, 10, and so on, and the matrix object will work with you. Let's head on back home, and we can see how to install. It's available on NPM, so you can grab it here from GitHub, but you can also just, in the terminal, npm install fluent-data. Once it's installed, you can work with it either on the client or the server. If you're on the server, you just require fluent-data. If you're on the client, it's a little more complicated. Probably you're going to want to reference it in your node modules folder. So node modules, you'll find the fluent-data library, the dist subdirectory, and in there you'll see a client file, fluent-data.client.js. That's what you want to point to when you're importing. So let's actually demonstrate that. Let's create a new project. I'm working with Visual Studio Code. I like it. You can use the IDE of your choice, but I find it works well for me. Let's create a new terminal. I like my terminals to the side. If you're going to output to the console with fluent-data, as you likely will when you're first getting started, give yourself a lot of room if you're working with it to the side. The output's going to be tabular, and so it's going to be fairly wide compared to most console output. Let's create our project JSON file, npm init. This is just a quick project, so I'm going to go through the defaults. Default. Looks good. All right, let's install the library. npm provision npm install fluent-data. This is the first installation for the project, so it'll create our node modules folder. There it is. There's the library. There's the dist folder, and you can see the client and the server file in there that we discussed. Let's create a new file to do some work with. I'm going to just do it on the root. This is a quick and dirty project. I imagine the first video I'm going to do where we're actually working to be demonstrating use of a data set. And so we'll name the file dataset.js. There we go. We're requiring fluent-data, putting it into a variable. The variable is a $. That's a personal history for me, sort of a tradition. While I was first developing the library, it wasn't called fluent-data. It was called something else. I didn't think I was going to stick with that name, but I didn't know what I wanted to rename it to. So I used the $. As a placeholder, developed documentation with the $, and it's sort of just stuck. In these videos, just to be consistent with the documentation, I'm going to use the $. As well. You may want to consider FD for fluent-data or whatever you like. But as mentioned, we'll use the $. And whenever I create a project, I sort of just like to output to the terminal to make sure I've made no errors. And there we go. We're good. We'll actually work with the library in the next video.